Hi everyone, in this video we're looking at adding and subtracting negative integers. So the learning goal is to add and subtract positive and negative integers, and by the end of the lesson you should be able to develop a strategy to remember how to add and subtract positive and negative integers. So just to recap on vocabulary, integers are positive and negative whole numbers including 0. So remember, you've got numbers such as like your counting numbers 1, 2, 3, and in the opposite direction -1, -2, -3. So those numbers can be found on a number line. These numbers are getting larger and these ones are getting smaller. So when you are adding or subtracting positive numbers, so the numbers that you're probably used to and familiar with working with, those numbers, it's just that process of finding the number and finding it and moving the number, moving according to the operation. So this is 3 plus 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you land on 7, which makes sense. 3 plus 4 is 7. So, and it's the same with this one. 1, add 10 to it and you get 11, and 6. Now that's just going in the opposite direction, so I'm just going to move this out of the way. So when we start with 6 here, and we move back or subtract 1, 2, 3, and we end up at positive 3. So we can use our number line for positive numbers, and the number line is actually going to help you transition to your negative integers. So let's have a look at that. So when we're adding negative numbers, you need to keep in mind, now I'm going to show you how it works on a number line, and then you might come up with a strategy or a way to remember. We'll also do this in person because that's how I like to do it with the students, is normally all together. So on a big number line. So here we go, we've got 2 plus -9. So I'm going to start with 2 here. So you can draw a number line in your book. And then plus -9. So when I hear the word plus or add, I'm going to start looking towards my numbers, because that's what we normally do. We add, the numbers get larger. But I have a negative here, so I'm actually going to be turning myself around, and I'm going to take or subtract 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that should be 7 to -5, 8, 9. And if I have a look, I am on -7. And that's where I should be. Okay, so that is -7 there. Now, I like to think of it as, you start, when you hear the word add, you face this way towards your larger numbers. Then when you hear the word negative, you turn around and you start moving towards the smaller numbers. So that's how I like to think of it. I hear the word add, I go this way, hear the word negative, and I go that way. So -5, we'll do this one here, number 2. If I start with -7 plus 1, 2, 3, because I'm going to be going towards the large numbers. That gives us -4. And with this one here, we have -5. So I'll just clear some of this out of the way. So I've got -5. I say plus, so I look in this direction, but it's a negative, and I'm actually going to go this way. 1, 2. It becomes -7. And that's because of the adding of a negative integer. Now, some people or some students like to just think, well, if I have a positive and a negative, or an addition and a subtraction, it's just going to be the same as subtracting. And if that strategy works for you, then that's great. But sometimes you might get a little bit fuddled with it or confused, because that can easily happen because it's, you're working the other way. It's like, well, what about this example here? If we have -2, so placing that on the number line first, and then we're going to go plus, but negative, so remember plus, but we're going negative because that way 1, 2, 3 equals -5. Okay, so we can do it that way as well. So there are lots of different strategies. I've got included here for you, if this might help. If you're adding your positive integers, so if the number is positive and you're adding it, you're going to move to the right. So, and the numbers become larger. And if you have negative numbers or integers, we move left. It actually does apply to other numbers. So integers are just whole numbers. We'll talk more about other numbers in other videos. And left, is when the numbers are becoming smaller. So I'm just referring to the right and left. Okay, so that is addition with negative numbers. And then you've got subtraction. Now this is a bit trickier as well. Well, tricky, but if you've got the right strategies, you can get through this. So if we start with the first one, +10 minus, so I would look in this direction normally when I'm doing a traditional subtraction, negative, because remember how I tell you, like if you hear the word negative, you kind of turn around, -3, and you would go 1, 2, 3. The answer is going to be +13. And it's the same up here. Sorry, I'll just clear this here. If we have -17, so that's that one here. And I'm going to subtract 1, 2, oh, sorry. That's my bad. I'm going in the wrong direction. And you go in the right. 1, 2, 3. And it becomes -20. You'll notice that when you are subtracting, even though the numbers are becoming smaller, there is a bit of a pattern going on here. So -17 minus 3 gives us -20. If you're going to do that, say, with your absolute values, like 17 plus 3 equals 20, and then you can put like your negative in the front. So that might be a strategy that works for you. I personally don't like to use it because sometimes I think that you would forget about your negatives. It doesn't always work, and that's the reason why I'm trying to show you how to do the mathematics properly, so that you can find a strategy that can remind you how to do the maths properly. Okay, so number 3 here, -7. So we would find -7 on your number line. And it's going to be subtract, so you would go in this direction first, minus, subtract -5. So notice how I remember when I said before with the adding, I said addition and negative, and it like flips it around. It's the same again with subtraction. So subtract negative, and then you would move your place 5 in the direction you're facing, and that becomes -3. Okay, and then the last one is +5, subtract -3. 1, 2, 3, and that gives us +8, and this one gives us -3. Okay, so it's slightly different. You can write that down. When subtracting positive numbers, we move to the left because that's that way, and the numbers become smaller, and that's convention. And then if you are going the other way, if you're subtracting negative numbers, you're going to go right, and the numbers become bigger. So kind of like addition. So keep that in mind. You might hear people say when they have two negatives. So when you see two negatives, they might say it is a plus. If you have a subtract, like a number, I'll use actual numbers. So like -1, subtract 2, you can call that a subtraction. And it's the same if you had like a positive number, 5 minus 4 is a subtraction. Okay. There are some exercises you can do referring back to your textbook that are here. Just note first 2 columns and the exercises are there. Alright guys, good luck with it all. I hope that you can add and subtract both positive and negative integers.